Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Annie and this is Unity Consciousness. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I'd like to welcome our new subscribers and also thank those of you who are returning for this week's energy update. I'd like to, before we get started, say happy birthday to Mick, dear friend. I miss you and I hope to see you soon. Anyway, aside from that, let's talk about the energy. So we reviewed this week's or today's energy last week in the update, but again, today the sun moves into the sign of Aquarius. We spoke a little bit about that Aquarian energy. Sometimes they are misconstrued because they truly march to their own beat, but a 5D Aquarian knows their essence, knows it very well, and then they can also take this very high perspective view of the collective and see how they fit in and how everybody else kind of fits in together. I really like Aquarian energy, and we're going to be asked to be authentic during this time and also transparent, no deception, or if it arises, we'll be able to see right through it. In addition, yesterday, Venus conjunct Saturn, which was a beautiful energy in itself. Now today, Mercury is going to sextile Venus while she's still conjunct Neptune. She's starting to move away a little bit, but that's fun energy too. It's fun because Saturn kind of governs that over-the-top Venus energy, and Mercury kind of is grounding it. So it's direct, practical communications and thoughts meets a very compassionate, unconditional love and understanding for long-term success. It can be a really good day for long-term planning of financial goals. That's a good use of it too. But it's a very sincere and honest energy. Again, I love this energy. And then tomorrow, I'm going to bring in a Kuiper Belt object just because of the other things we're going to be talking about. I think it helps us to qualify exactly some of the things we will be discussing and some of the challenges that we're going to be facing. So then on tomorrow, Venus is going to reach 17 degrees of Pisces and conjunct Kuiper Belt object Nessus. I won't get into the mythology. I'll allow you just go ahead and look it up if you'd like. It's pretty sensitive and violent. I don't choose to speak about that on my channel, but needless to say, Nessus is here as a Kuiper Belt object. A greater understanding is ending cycles of abuse and betrayal. So that's very important to note that Venus is going to connect with that planet before moving on. Then on Tuesday, we will have the sun, which just recently moved into Aquarius, is going to make its first aspect, and that is conjuncting Pluto, which is significant. Pluto has bopped in and out of Aquarius for the last year, 18 months or so, but now firmly, as of the 19th of November, firmly planted in the sign of Aquarius so that it can transform any Aquarian themes or anything that just doesn't match up to those Aquarian themes. Pluto's there to really transform any of that energy. With the sun and Pluto conjuncting, our essence, who we are as an individual, is going to be, it needs to be completely transparent and completely authentic. If it's not, it will become boldly apparent that it's not. As well, on Tuesday, Chiron in the sign of Aries is going to square Mercury in Capricorn. We've talked about Mercury and Capricorn energy. It can be very cold. It can be lacking emotion. It can be very direct. And when it's squaring Chiron and Aries, any of that wounding associated with not being seen or heard or having to substantiate your existence is going to be triggered. We have worked over the past several weeks when Chiron was opposite Black Moon Lilith, relative to relationships, relative to that wounding. We spoke about Karpman's triangle and the drama triangle and how that perpetuates itself until somebody finally puts an end to it. Well, that Mercury and Capricorn energy is really triggering here. So all of this energy, the Sun conjunct Pluto and Chiron squaring Mercury, potential blow-ups could occur. Any suppressed wounding that hasn't been dealt with out of a need to be seen and heard, or to just your existence. Anywhere where honesty and transparency is not being shown, it's going to come to the surface. And as always, we can lean into that Venus energy. Remember, Venus sits in Pisces. She's exalted. That's unconditional love. That's where we're going to find our solace now, because that Mercury square Chiron energy triggers the next 2 days energy. And I decided to print a chart because I wanted you, I'm going to hold it up so that if you want to get a picture of it or still frame of it, it's going to be important to note. It's very complex energy. So here's Chiron squaring Mercury, and then it sets off just a series of events. We've got a T-square here between Black Moon Lilith, which is in the sign of Libra, and that speaks about feeling like you are not lovable or not making a commitment. And it is a T-square between Mars now and Mercury are in oppositional placement. So there is complex energy there, a power struggle for sure, relative to those words and how it makes you feel. And with Mars being in the sign of Cancer, we are learning that our passions need to be driven not from a place of ego, but heart-centered consciousness. So, Mars is opposing Mercury. We've got Uranus here at 23 degrees of Taurus, retrograde. So this is an internal process, and that's trining that Mercury energy. So we need to bring in a higher level of consciousness, the freedom that comes from that Uranian energy grounded in Taurus is going to help us understand what's actually being said, and that mercurial energy in the very harsh, cold Capricorn area, or that style of communication. And then Uranus also is sextile Mars. So that energy is working together in so many ways to offset that T-square, that T-square between Black Moon Lilith and Mars and Mercury is very challenging. It really is. It speaks of so many cycles of wounding. This can speak of ancestral wounding. Remember, Venus conjunct Nessus, just days before, helping us to understand through unconditional love that we can end these cycles of abuse. And it's important to know that we don't need to continue Karpman's triangle of drama and reigniting these things. We can either release it or continue it, using that energy of Venus conjunct Nessus. So again, very complex energy. If you have any planets at any of those points that are in opposition or in the T-square area, again, this is our T-square here. Oppositions are, we've got a moon. You typically don't use the moon, but I decided to put it in because that moon is in Scorpio at this time, and Scorpionic energy quite often has secrets, but it's also very intuitive, very psychic. So you can use your intuition here and get those secrets up and out. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's listen to each other from a place of unconditional love and understanding. Let that be the passion that guides us. Because again, we have to look at the areas in blue where we are supported when any of these trigger points are ignited with that opposition. And truly, it gets ignited when Chiron squares Mercury. Okay, like I said, that's going to be on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all that energy kind of kicks in. But then Venus moves forward and Mercury moves forward. So let's kind of move forward a little bit. On Saturday of this week, we're going to have a yod beginning, because as Venus begins to move forward out of the area where she is sitting here, she's going to continue to move forward. She's getting closer to Neptune, but not quite there yet. And she is going to quincunx Black Moon Lilith. So she is now working with that Black Moon Lilith energy of not feeling like you're capable of love or being loved, being unloved. She's working with that to break that cycle. And it's quincunx so that it's complex energy, but we can absolutely break down those boundaries. We can. Mercury at that time is going to sextile Neptune. So Mercury's energy is softening. Mercury's energy in conjunction with Neptune is helping from a very ethereal place, if you will. And Venus is also sextiling Uranus in perfection now. What's interesting to note, when these planets are working together, they're at 23 degrees. 2 plus 3 equals 5, and 5 is the number for change. So I think significant changes are afoot. Needless to say, as we round out this week with this energy softening, and Black Moon Lilith is going to quincunx first Venus, and then she's going, first she's going to quincunx Uranus, then she's going to quincunx Uranus, creating a yod. This is higher consciousness and grounding from a place of unconditional love that can bring about healing of one's self and then others through communications. Unconditional love, thoughtful, peaceful communications, right? That yod, and this is what the yod's going to look like a little further. Now we've got Mercury here, Uranus. They are working together to solve the complexities over here at the yod. And guess what? When we boomerang it out, there's Chiron. So I know we did work earlier relative to the opposition between Black Moon Lilith and Chiron. And this week, you are going to be so thankful that you were able to resolve some of that wounding. Any residual may be popping up so that it can too be resolved through higher levels of consciousness, through unconditional love for oneself and then the others. So then next week we have, let's see, Mercury is going to enter Aquarius. I kind of like that energy. We'll see what happens there. And then Venus is going to enter Shadow. So Venus is getting ready to kick off her retrograde cycle. That ought to be interesting. And then we have a new moon in Aquarius next week. And guess what? The ruler of that new moon, which is Uranus, which is very active this week, is going to end its retrograde cycle and go direct. So get ready for that. And then I also think Venus and Neptune are going to conjunct as well. Needless to say, with all of this energy, very complex energy, very significant, it could be ancestral wounding, but wounding that certainly kept us in a place of darkness or kept us from necessarily reaching a higher level of consciousness are out there this week for us to resolve, for us to sit with, for ourselves, but also for others. I think a very good use of this energy is to transmute it. If you feel this energy, if you're an empath on any level whatsoever, you may already be feeling this energy, feeling the complexity of this week's energy. Transmute it back to source for the greater good of all. Let's get rid of that dark energy so that it can be returned to Earth so that we can all shine and rise above. So I decided to use the Starseed Oracle deck, Rebecca Campbell, artwork by Danielle Noel. I decided to use this because I thought we really need to get into some of that galactic starseed energy so that it can help us with as we navigate this week. And the card that popped out is Trust the Timing. Let's see what the book has to say. Trust the wave you came in on. Time is not running out. So often those of us who feel like they're here for a reason sense that time is running out, and they spend their life worrying that they might miss their moment. But the only way to miss your life or your moment is to spend your time worrying about missing it. It's never too late to answer a calling, and you're never too old. The tides of your life are magnificently orchestrated to come in and out in perfect union. Don't race ahead and ride a wave that was never meant for you. You'll waste your precious time and energy when instead you could be enjoying your life. Everything has a season, and you're being called to trust the one you're in. Don't let impatience, comparison, competition, or paranoia disturb the seeds. It seems that everyone has anxiety these days, constantly scanning for something they might have missed or a possible threat. Keeping our mind and body pointed in the same direction as our soul is near impossible at such reactive speeds. Right now, you're being reminded to take a breath and trust the wave you came in on. To trust the season you're in. Time isn't running out. There's plenty of time. There's no rush, and it's never too late. The Starseed Soul Inquiry states, how can you trust the timing of your life a little more? So as we move through these challenging energies collectively, please recognize and be aware relief can be found in five-dimensional understandings of grounding in higher consciousness for freedom from all that exists in the 3D world. How unconditional love can lead us out from cycles of abuse. They can lead us to healing of those ancestral wounds. The collective could have felt them for generations, but we are here to clear them out. Again, transmute the energy as it arises, return it to source, so that we can be a higher dimensional level of ourselves, and that energy can return as the light that we've now become. We are the light, we certainly are the love. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you know someone that could be helped by this video, please do share it with them. If you want to know when videos are being dropped, please click the subscribe button. And I thank you so much. Any comments or suggestions, post them in the comment box below. I hope you have a fabulous week of energy transmutation, of staying in a higher dimension of reality, and certainly grounding yourself as some of this energy, this challenging energy surrounds us. Namaste.